Can't you be thankful I'm God? My angels rain flames on your squad. Through the fire you be thankful rain.
Peace to the God family. It's Wise Word Wednesday. Today I want to talk to y'all guys about the word vulnerability. I feel like I ain't do this in a minute, right? But vulnerability. It's the quality or state of being exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed, either physically or emotionally. Right? So when you're in a fight and you got your guard up, but you're still exposed, you know what I'm saying? You're left vulnerable. A lot of times we live our life like we in a constant battle. You know what I'm saying? And our guards is up. Afraid to get hit, to get knocked down, right? To get pushed to the side, to get pushed away. And it happens a lot in relationships, whether it's intimate or friendship or family member, and especially with men. You know, we express ourselves a lot and we feel like our emotions are not valued. So this creates a space where we become emotionally closed off, you know. And it's not just men, but I say especially men because I feel like we get it the hardest, right? We supposed to be the tough guys, the strong ones, the logical ones. Right? So a lot of times, like I said, our emotions and stuff is not valued when we do express them. Because it's like, be a man. Right? But at the same time, it happens to women too. Women express themselves to their significant others, and a lot of times they go unheard. You know, and this causes both parties not to speak up about their feelings, about their emotions, about the things that they're going through. So whether it be a relationship, a friendship, or just, you know, the people in your family, it's like if you don't have that person or anybody to talk to, you become closed off. Right? And it's not about not having somebody to talk to, because a lot of times we do, right? But those people don't carry that same level of empathy and compassion that you would for them, right? So a lot of times we become afraid to express ourselves because we feel like we'll be misunderstood, unheard, you know? And I want to say that sometimes it's still okay to be vulnerable, even if that's how you feel. If you feel like you're not going to be understood, or you might not be heard, right? Sometimes you still have to release that energy. It's just real. And sometimes the next person might not understand. But it's better to let it out than to hold on to that negative energy. You know? And at the same time, there's other ways to release emotion, to show feeling and express yourself and be vulnerable without having to have that fear of what the next person might think. You know, it's things like journaling. Sometimes we have to be more vulnerable with ourselves. And maybe that's the true issue. You know? Maybe we have to sit with our emotions more and start to understand ourselves more and understand why we feeling such emotion. Maybe the solution is not being vulnerable with somebody else. Maybe it's to be vulnerable with yourself. But there's strength in being vulnerable. You know? A lot of times we see vulnerability as a weakness. And I'm going to say it again, especially with men. You know what I'm saying? We feel like we're not supposed to be vulnerable. People look at us and think we're not supposed to be vulnerable and express certain things. You know what I'm saying? We think we're supposed to get over these things on our own, and a lot of times we are. You know, it's a two-way street. You know, sometimes you do have to be vulnerable with yourself and forget the outside world. You know, depending on the situation. Other times, you might need to be vulnerable with somebody else. You know? For instance, if you're in a relationship, you have to be vulnerable with each other for you guys to progress in that relationship. For you guys to continue to build trust for each other. To keep building respect for each other. To always have an understanding for one another. You have to be vulnerable. And not see being vulnerable as a weakness. Male or female, it's not weak. It's actually strong. It's a lot of strength in being vulnerable. And expressing how you feel in a positive way. I don't want to say in a positive way, but in a calm, peaceful manner. You know? Only time that weakness is expressed is through anger. You know? And sometimes we think we're being vulnerable by expressing our anger. It's like yes and no, because that's not the way to go about it. You're not going to be understood or heard if you're expressing your emotions in anger. Yelling, having an attitude with somebody, trying to express, this is the way that I've been feeling. Like, that's not, no, it's not going to work. You have to have some type of peace and calamity when you are being vulnerable. You know? And I say that to say, a lot of times when we're in a vulnerable position, we don't know how to express ourselves. And it might come out in anger. Because we don't even understand ourselves. And you know, when we don't understand ourselves, it's hard to express ourselves. So when we are expressing ourselves to that other person and they're not understanding us, it just makes us even more angry. Right? So sometimes we do have to learn how to be vulnerable again, right? And not to think of it as a sign of weakness. You know, think of it as a strength, because I'm allowing this person into my field. I'm allowing this person to see inside of me. You feel me? Because only you have that control and power for somebody else to understand you, to see you, to know you. Right? Because everybody only knows what you want them to know about you. And that's the power of being vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? Knowing how to express yourself and have discernment for who and who you want to bring into your life, or bring into certain parts of your life. There's a lot of spiritual cleansing benefits from being vulnerable. But also could be a lot of the opposite. That's why I say, excuse me, it's about having discernment. Because we don't have to be vulnerable with each and every person that we come into contact with. With everybody that we have an experience with. It's not about being vulnerable with everybody. But there is strength in vulnerability. And knowing how to be vulnerable and who to be vulnerable with. So I feel like I'm gonna leave y'all with that. I gotta get ready for work. But yeah. Try to be more vulnerable in your life. Not battle-wise, but life-wise. Stop thinking of life as a fight. Stop thinking of life as a battle. And maybe you'll let your guard down a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of us are so scared of life, we got our guard up and we can't even see what's going on. So, you know, we let our guards down a little bit and we able to see the fight. The quote-unquote battle. And then we be able to see it's like, oh, it's not a threat. I can open up and be vulnerable. So, move with that energy. Have discernment. Have a clear mind. And express yourself calmly, peacefully, wisely. And live inspired. Peace.
Another 3 a.m. night and I'm up work. Work start, heat up the beam of the blunt burn.